Episode of Open Book. I am Billy Price. I am the co-founder of Billy Footwear. And for those out there that don't know, I absolutely love Open Book because Open Book gives us an opportunity. I just wanted to talk about the brand, tell about our story of how we got here and like the various trials and tribulations and the rocky road and the roller coaster of a journey to get to where we are today. But the part that I think I love more about Open Book is our opportunity to invite guests on that we collaborate with and hear their stories. So today we are honored to have Dr. Vera. Dr. Vera, welcome to Open Book.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
So Dr. Vera, there's so many things I want to ask you, and I've been biting my lip for this moment. I think a great place for to start, because you have your own clinic, it's Milestones Pediatric. I would love for you to share with us what is Milestones Pediatric.
So I am a physical therapist. I'm a pediatric specific physical therapist. I'm also a mom of three. And I've been, my entire career, I've been only interested in peds and working with with babies, toddlers, and young kids. I started out my career in an outpatient hospital setting, and then COVID hit and I was laid off. And at the time, I was kind of like the breadwinner for the family. And this was a really hard time for us because we really didn't know what we were going to do and where to move to from that point. And it was really a really scary time for a lot of people, obviously. But I've never been a person to just sit around and wait and not take the opportunity as a positive. I created Milestones Pediatric PT. And when all the clinics around us were shut down because of COVID and obviously safety protocols, as we know, kids with disabilities still need services. The world does not stop, and they still need help. And there are many babies that were delayed. I had kids with conditions that really needed to be addressed and could not just pause because the world did. So what I did was I started going to people's houses with a mask on and all the safety procedures, of course, but I started providing services by going to people's homes. And at first it was just a couple of families that called me here and there. And there was just something to basically just help my family survive the difficult time. But very quickly the company grew, and I started from me thinking like this would be just kind of like a side thing while I find something more full time. And now we are a medium sized company. I would say we have 10 therapists traveling all over our area. We are in Detroit, and we cover quite a large chunk of the area, providing the services still in the homes, and families really, really love it. So I never anticipated such a turnout, and it's been spectacular just to watch the company grow and see the response that we're getting from the families. And over the years, I really come to believe that the place where children really flourish is in their own homes, with their family really involved in their care. Just kind of contrasting back to when I worked in a clinic in a outpatient hospital setting, we had limitations how many people could come to a treatment session. So not the full entire family got to see the home exercises or participate in the baby's care. And here I welcome anybody, if it's the dog, if it's the nanny, if it's grandparents, whoever is in the child's picture. I think their natural environment is how they're going to succeed, and whatever resources they have in their own home. So that has been really a game changer. And I think why our results and how quickly we make progress in our company is just much different than other types of care.
Wow. Wow. I mean, first off, thank you so much for what you do because, I mean, just to go back to that time where doors were just getting closed, like during COVID, and we couldn't go anywhere, and almost to the point where it was just like an absolute ghost town out there on the road. That was a very scary time of unknown. And those services that are like life, like critical life. I mean, like you just need to have those types of services to help suddenly have that stop. For you to be able to pick up the reins and do what you did, I'm really curious. I mean, what was the time gap between like having your having to make the decision where people can't come in to all of a sudden you just getting behind the wheel and like I'm coming to you? how quickly did you make that decision?
Oh, I mean, it was from pretty much the day that I saw the hospital shut down. There was maybe like a month or so where I myself was really scared to be out and about. Obviously, even with a mask on. I took COVID very, very seriously. I had a baby at home at the time as well. But I was just thinking, but what about these kids? Like, I understand, of course, I understand safety first, but we can do this safely, and we can still provide care. Um, so that was my questions, like, what about the kids? Because 3 months in a baby's lifetime, it could be detrimental.
Yeah. Yeah, 3 months. So now I'm a parent of a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and um, 3 months for a 2-year-old. I mean, oh my gosh, I mean that's almost like a
Yeah,
tenth of their life. I mean, that's like there's a lot that goes on in 3 months' time. I mean, that's wow,
absolutely.
wow.
And when they really need the services, especially, like I said, I have a lot of kids with disabilities on my schedule in our practice, and the guidance that is required for the families. It's not just when you work in pediatrics, it's not just treating the baby or treating the child. You're really the support that you provide for the family, the guidance, the help, all of that, and just taking a break from that is very hard for the families, and not getting any kind of support for months at a time. So I tried to hurry as much as I could, and then I think once the word spread and the family started referring their friends, and yeah, the company really grew rather quickly, and completely not what I ever expected.
Yeah. Well, I'd imagine well, I mean, how far are you going? I mean, I know that to get to a doctor's appointment, some folks have to come from quite a ways. So are you able to make it like those distances and be able to, I mean, I don't know,
I
how
used to
far are
do
you
it all by
driving?
myself. I always
Incredible.
advertised like a tri-county area, so I drove quite a bit. But now that we have many more therapists, we kind of divide and conquer areas, and we're in the tri-county area, but the goal is just to keep growing and see how much more of the state I can cover to provide the service. And that's kind of what we intend to do, is to help every child that needs it, and the families that do see the benefit of getting the services in home. We would love to help with that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let me put your website up right here, because I know that within having the website, or just going like to the patients and what you already knew, up to that point. I mean, there's just so much that you've been able to learn and bring in and also want to share. So can you talk about the website and how folks can use it?
Absolutely. So for anybody that's local to us, to Metro Detroit, you can submit an inquiry right from our website to get services. And we actually have two kind of separate routes right now that we're doing. We do have the in-home service, which is, I would say, the majority and the bulk of the services that we provide. However, we also started venturing into the intensive route, which is more for kids with like a diagnosed disability and pretty significant delay in gross motor skills. We also provide intensive physical therapy, which is completely different from standard PT. It's obviously more intensive. It is a 2-week program, 5 days a week, 2 hours every day. So it's a lot of exercise thrown at a baby, a toddler, a preschooler, but we get amazing results. So the website has two separate routes for registration, and whichever you prefer, you would just pick one.
Why pediatrics?
I have always been interested in pediatrics. My sister is actually a pediatrician, and when I was doing my undergrad, I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician, and that was kind of the route that I was set to go to and to apply to medical school. But I decided to do some shadowing with her, and I went to her office, and I realized that she sees patients maybe for 5 to 15 minutes maximum. And although she has a great relationship with a lot of these families, it wasn't enough interaction for me personally. And I started looking into other ways that I could build more of a closer relationship with families and help them out longer term. And I stumbled upon pediatric physical therapy. And that's always been, ever since then, it's always been the only thing that I've been interested in. We tend to see the patients 1 to sometimes 3 hours a week for until they meet their goals. And sometimes even they go into teenage years and we kind of follow them. So you really, really build a connection with these families. A lot of these parents are my friends now. And it's been a pleasure watching these kids grow and helping them along the way, as their story kind of changes and evolves.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I remember my, childhood doctor. I mean, he was with me. It's like since the earliest I could remember. And then all through school until, I mean, basically after graduating, you know what? I had to change because he retired. I mean, that's what happened. I mean, and then it was a matter, I guess that time I was about 18 years old and I was me transitioning to something different anyways. But you're absolutely right. I mean, yes, you are the doctor, but it becomes more than that. I mean, it just becomes more of an advocate for the family and like understanding the family and just that trusted, that pillar, to be able to speak like hard conversations, but also just encouragement into those family worlds.
Yes. And I think since I've created the company and started doing more of the in-home care, it really feels like family. And that's one of the missions of my company and something that I really foster in my therapists as well. And anybody that works for me is how important it is to be that friend to the family, because we're there in the house so much and so often and for so long. We see things that I never got to see or never even thought about asking when I was a clinician and in a clinic, because you just don't think about it. But when you're in somebody's home, you really understand the family dynamics and what resources a family has and just everything. And I think all of those things contribute to a child's success, because if you really don't understand where they're coming from, um, you're not going to get a full picture. And that's what I'm looking back at when I was not doing the home visits. I feel like it was a very fragmented care because I just
Mm.
didn't understand everything.
So I'm curious, I've got this picture in my head right now. Were you in a home working with someone and you looked across and you saw a pair of like Billy shoes in the hallway and that's when you learned about the brand, or did you already know about the brand prior to that?
I've known about the brand since back when I was in the hospital. So I've been kind of following you guys for a really, really long time and really admiring what you guys did
Mm.
for the kids and adults as well, to make shoes more accessible, especially when they have braces, because that's a huge struggle for any family who has an individual with braces that wears braces. That is such a struggle to find shoes that fit. And we as physical therapists as well, when we make our recommendations, we have seen so many different shoes and
Mm.
we have trialed so many different things. And back in the day when before Billy's existed, I mean, we took it as far as cutting shoes to make wider toe boxes and making, cutting out the toe boxes to make sandals out of shoes. And basically you're ruining you're buying an expensive pair of shoes and you have to ruin them in order to stick that brace in there because there was no other options back then. So I've been a fan for quite a bit, and I continue to recommend these shoes over any other brand because I just know it's very reliable. I know for a fact they're going to fit your braces, and you can always get a wide if you need to. We can always loosen up the laces. We can take out the second inner sole that comes in the shoe. So there's so many different options and ways to customize the shoe for the child. And I just know that if you pick this brand, we will find a way to make it fit your brace.
So Dr. Vera, that means so much. I mean, thank you tremendously for that. It's wild because it makes me think down our just our timeline of how we got here. And it's funny because it was the first sample was kind of a solution to my own disability. I mean, I have a spinal cord injury. I broke my neck when I was a teenager. And my challenge was my hand dexterity, but it was also shoving my foot into a shoe. So it was being able to have that thing open up so I could drop my foot in unobstructed. And I remember when we first came out with our new sample, our first sample, and then we started kind of emerging into the marketplace. Somebody reached out through email, and the question was, do these work with AFOs? And it was the funniest thing because I had to go to Google to type in the letters AFO to understand what that was. Since I don't wear braces, I didn't know about that term. But upon seeing it, seeing that rigid piece of plastic, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the same struggle I have, is that shoving your foot into a shoe, or
Yep.
not really knowing what's going to happen with your toes when you're pushing so hard. Or is the sock like still, nice and smooth before you really close or tighten the shoe down.
Yeah.
So it's been awesome to be able to have something that works for someone that wears a brace. But in
Mhm.
addition to that, getting the feedback from both the customer and the clinicians to help improve that particular product to make it better. So having the removable insoles, again, that was a parent that reached out. They asked the question, can you make these things removable? So we called up the factory. We said, can you do this? And they said, sure. So it was just a quick change, like being a small company. But it was really rooted in that building a relationship with the end customer and understanding what they need and always trying to improve the product. So thank you for everything you said. And if you have any improvements, please let us know. We'll do what we can to try to make it better.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been really, really happy with the braces, and with fitting the braces into the shoes. And now we don't have to go 3 sizes bigger, because that becomes another issue. Is that was another strategy that parents used before, was getting shoes that were much, much bigger to accommodate the width of the brace, and then they become clown shoes basically. And when we're trying to walk and trying to learn, trying to work on gait training, if the shoe is too big as well, that's kind of defeats the purpose, because they're tripping over the toe boxes too.
Yeah.
So this is
Well,
a perfect solution.
in addition to that, and we hear this too, it's a matter of like, you have to you have to want to like what you're wearing. So if
Yeah.
it builds that confidence. I mean, if you're able to look in the mirror and like to see, like what you're seeing, or like what's on your foot, or like just the apparel or whatever, it does build that confidence. And especially, when it comes to braces, I mean, it is a different thing that one needs to wear. Like I use a wheelchair, like it's just something a little bit different, but we have to have that confidence. And if we look good, it builds that confidence. So
Absolutely.
it's been great. It's been really good.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Vera, I want to be respectful of your time, but I do want to ask you one more question, because
Sure.
one thing I do want to do is I want to highlight your Instagram. But one big question is, like, what's next? I mean, it just seems like you had your clinic and then you got this big curveball, and then you started having it more remote to be able to go into homes, but now there's both. And I mean, you're able to provide resources outside of the Detroit area, plus have, resources within the Detroit area. What's next?
Um, Really, I don't know. Like I said, I never anticipated even this. So for me, every day is a surprise, and I've been really surprised positively, and I feel really, really blessed for everything that has happened. And I really don't take it for granted. What I want to see is just us helping more kids. I want to help more kids locally, and locally through our company, where we can do the home visits, and we can see kids for the intensives. But also with Instagram now, I'm providing tips and tricks and videos and some support there. I do like a Q&A, so parents from all over the world ask questions in regarding to their child's development, and I help answer those questions. So I'm reaching a larger audience that I wouldn't be able to help locally. So I hope to continue that, and I hope to help more people in the long run.
Mm, well said. Well said. Well, again, Dr. Vera, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. On the screen right now, those that are listening in. So we have your Instagram handle. It's at milestones_pediatric_PT. And then earlier we had her website up, and that is Milestones Peds PT. So MilestonesPedsPT.com. Both fantastic resources. Dr. Vera, again, thank you so much for joining us on Open Book today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Everyone else out there, this is another episode of Open Book. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll have another one again real soon. So until then, take care.